trailing a team that had come in playing awful basketball. They were trailing going into the fourth quarter by a point, and then the Kings outscore the Rockets by 19 in the fourth, 41-20. And it's just, a win is a win. But I kind of got the impression tonight that the Kings just felt like at the end of the game, they would be able to outscore the Rockets enough to win. I thought it was a very lazy, concerning performance for the first 36 minutes. 31-27 after one. 36-35 is the score in the second quarter, the Kings. The Rockets came out in the third and put 33 on the board, outscored the Kings by 6, led by 1 going into the fourth, and then the Kings pulled away to win this one, 135-115. So if you didn't watch the game, you would just go, oh, boy, the Kings just destroyed the Houston Rockets. No, they didn't. You'll take the win. I get you. You'll take the win. But I don't know. I'm looking at the big picture. I always look at the big picture, and the big picture tells me that this is fine and dandy against bad teams. It's not fine and dandy, when you're playing the good teams. All right, we bring in Ryan in Sacktown. Ryan, it's good to have you on the program. Give me your impressions on what you watched tonight.
Well, Grant, for 3 quarters, I wasn't sure which team was 10-30, to be honest with you. It was, like you said, a lackluster, kind of lazy performance up until the fourth when they put up 41 and held the Rockets to 20.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you look at the box score in this game, and, you start with Sacramento. Sabonis is Sabonis. He's 1 assist away from a triple-double, 25, 14, and 9. He's plus 13. Fox ended up with 24, 9 of 18 floor. Also had 9 assists, only 1 turnover. So, again, those two are carrying this basketball team. Plain and simple. Lyles was really good off the bench with 20. Keegan Murray, 16 points, 6 rebounds. Harrison Barnes, his usual steady self with 16. Again, no Kevin Huerter tonight in his place. Davis scored 6. But, I like the balanced scoring. But, again, it's De'Aaron Fox and it is Domantas Sabonis leading the way for this team.
Yeah, absolutely. If it wasn't for De'Aaron Fox in the fourth quarter, I believe 6 of his assists came in the fourth. Yep. Trey Lyles scoring in the fourth. It's a different basketball game. But you do look at the box, and everybody was in the positive with plus minus for the Kings in balance. But that's what's so confusing about this team, Grant, because the box looks decent, and you made a perfect point. If you look at the final score, that does not illustrate how this game truly played out.
Yeah, no, it really was not. Again, the Kings trail going into the fourth quarter by a point. The Kings shoot 48%, including just under 40% from downtown. Free throws were outstanding tonight, Ryan. 26 of 31, really, really good. Houston shoots just under 46%, 39% from downtown. Their free throw shooting cost them. They were only 64%. You look at the rebounding totals. Houston was plus 3, so that's basically even. I thought the Kings did an excellent job at taking care of the basketball in this game, Ryan. Only 9 turnovers, and that's going to win you a lot of games.
Absolutely, Grant. That is a positive from tonight, no doubt. One thing I would point at, too, on the flip side, Jerry was talking about earlier today, pushing the pace a little bit more, picking up full court. And, there weren't very many fast break points for the Kings today.
No.
And they like to run. And, I think that's going to be a huge factor to them playing more consistent or what we know them to be when they're playing well.
Yeah. So, again, the Kings win. They're back to 4 games over 500 with the game coming up on Friday. Just so everyone on the line knows, no, I don't have to be more happy with this game. You know why? I don't look at the game the same way you look at the game. I don't look at the game and go, oh, gee, they won by 20 points. You know what I look at? I look at this game and I say to myself, okay, is this a trend or was tonight an aberration? And you know what tonight's game is? It's a trend, okay?
That's right.
And I look at trends because I've been involved in the league for many, many years. And I look at the big picture. And I look at a 5-game increment or 10-game increments. And you're going to tell me that after watching this Kings team play for the last 5 games, let's just break it down to 5 games, you like the way they're playing? I don't like the way they're playing. And I'm looking at the big picture. the big picture to me is not winning a game against the Houston Rockets. The big picture is you're 5th in the West, and are you going to be able to sustain that when you start playing the really good teams up after the All-Star break? Because the Kings' schedule after the All-Star break is brutal, okay? I'm also looking at the big picture because, as Jerry Reynolds pointed out on our show today, this afternoon, the Kings are really the only team in the NBA that has not had injuries. So if we are going to just expect no injuries, okay, maybe they'll hold on to the 5th spot. But you're not going to win in this league playing defense the way the Kings play on a fairly routine, consistent basis, which has been inconsistent. So, I don't have to do anything. I'm giving you my objective, unbiased opinion about what I'm watching. And there are some very alarming things that I'm seeing with the Sacramento Kings. I'm looking at the big picture. I'm not looking at a weeknight game in January and going, oh boy, the Kings beat the Rockets by 20. I don't look at it that way. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Grant, you're spot on. This is one of those things where you have to take the macro view and not the micro view. Sure, win is great, but this is not a good trend that we're seeing. And don't be surprised if we see. I mean, Grant, if you had to put something on it right now, you'd think we're probably going to see the same performance on Friday night.
You might have Kevin Huerter back in the lineup, so I mean, that you'll be at full strength. Although, I thought Davis played fine tonight. Again, I'm looking at, and thank you for the messages coming up here on the chat line. If they keep doing this, we might fall to a play in a bad game lazy. Yeah, again, here's where we're at. All right, the Kings are above expectations right now. Yes. I don't think many people had them and we're one game away from the halfway point, are we not? Or right? Is it tomorrow, the halfway point for the
Friday.
Kings? All right. So, or Friday, I beg your pardon. So at the halfway point, they should be 5 games over 500. And if they're not, then this has been a disastrous homestand. It's already been, in my opinion, a bad homestand, but they have to close this out because then they go on the road, Ryan, and play San Antonio and the Lakers, and the Spurs are not very good. And who knows what you get with the Lakers these days. But I do know the Lakers just came into Sacramento a couple of nights ago and scored 136 points. So, again, I'm looking at the big picture.
Yep, and that's the way you should be looking at it, Grant.
Yep.
And hopefully we can find some consistency. I mean, I think one thing that we are seeing is the Kings are not doing well dealing with teams with length, especially on the perimeter as well. That is something that's given them some trouble.
All right, here's what we're going to do starting for the Spurs game right here on YouTube Live. All right, we're going to utilize the Super Chat. And we're going to grade the Kings in 5-game increments starting against the Spurs. All right, so after the game on Friday, we'll start fresh. And we will give individual grades out after 5 games and a team grade. And what Ryan and I are going to do, if you utilize the Super Chat, the individual who makes the largest donation on the Super Chat will join us live after the 5 games. So on the 6th game, and I haven't even looked that far ahead on the schedule, but you'll join us here on YouTube. If your schedule does not allow you to make it for that particular game, we will do it for the following game. All right? So if you want to join us for the post-game show, the person that makes the largest donation on Super Chat will have that opportunity. We'll reach out to you. We will set you all up. We'll make sure that you understand how to get on the stream, and you will join Ryan and I. And we might even have a special treat. We might even get Jerry Reynolds on with you. All right. So it would be Ryan, myself, you, and Jerry. So you can utilize the Super Chat. And beginning for the Spurs game, during those 5 games, whoever makes the largest donation will be able to join us at the end of those 5 games. How's that sound?
That sounds great. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. So, Amir, get everybody stirred up, and we can't wait to talk games with you and talk some grades.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So the defense does drastically need to improve. Everyone in the world knows that. The Kings know that. The coach knows that. And everybody else knows that. Thank you very much. And I hope that, we can have a lot of fun with this, and we'll do it every 5 games. And then, you know what? We'll do it during the playoffs too. Hey, Amir, how are you, buddy? Great to have you on. And I'll tell you what, Anita, Jerry will be coming on Anita. We'll get Jerry on the post game. Not every night, but he'll come on with us and the fan, and we will have a lot of fun. So I'm looking forward to that. I love to listen. Who doesn't love Jerry Reynolds, right? We all love Jerry. We all love Jerry.
Right.
Well, first of all, okay, if you're a broke graduate student, I just want to say the fact that you're going through school, all right, and getting your education will be invaluable. And someday you won't be broke, okay? And so we've all been in your shoes. I was a student. I was starting off in this business where I was unemployed for 2 years, basically coming out of college. And my first job at a TV station in Decatur, Illinois, I made $12,300. That was my annual salary. So I'm just going to tell you, hang in there. All right. And you're not, don't say you're screwed. You'll be able to join us and you'll be able to have some fun. All right. It's all about having some fun. So don't worry about it. Just keep doing what you're doing. Thank you very much, Christopher. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Rhino.
Thanks.
I will say that this team right now, okay, 5 games over 500 is where they should be heading out onto the road. And the West, look at all the teams that lost around them again tonight. It's amazing.
I know. It's the West. This is the time the Kings need to pick up that ground. I mean,
yes.
People will say pick up ground. They're the 5 spot. Well, yeah, they're also only I believe it's 3 or 5 wins out of the last spot, or losses out of the last spot. Excuse me. So, but the West.
I just want to comment on this. Matt Barnes is, delusional, and he and DeMarcus both are delusional, and the Kings are not going to have DeMarcus Cousins on their team. Okay, trust me on that. It's not happening. All right. There are several players on the team that don't want him on the team. Mike Brown does not want DeMarcus Cousins on the team, and it's not going to happen. And there is a reason why DeMarcus is not in the league right now. Okay. And there's also a reason why his good confidant and his great coach friend, Michael Malone, doesn't have him on the Nuggets this year. There's a reason why DeMarcus was not re-signed by the Denver Nuggets this year. Think about that for a minute. So Matt Barnes is an absolute moron, okay? Matt Barnes is an idiot. He's delusional if he thinks that DeMarcus Cousins is, number one, going to come to Sacramento, and number two, make this team better, because it's not happening. Not happening. It's unbelievable. Really is.
Well, to be fair to that chatter, there is a lot of smoke right now in Sacramento about that, with DeMarcus working out in LA and some of the roster moves the Kings made. But yeah, I'm with you, Grant. I don't think that works. Let me throw a name at you, though. What do you think about Dwight Howard?
Well, Dwight's over in China now, is he not? Playing overseas? So
he's in China, yeah, right.
Okay, you know what I would do? All right, and I want you to hear me out on this, okay? If it were me, there's an individual out there that when we last saw him on the court was really good with very good stats, and he's been blackballed from the league. His name is Enes Kanter, Enes Freedom. I would bring him in, all right? I don't think he's done anything wrong. I don't have a problem with his stance regarding China and the comments that he has made. He is allowed to play in the NBA. It's not like the league has said you're not allowed. It's just that no teams have gone out and acquired him. If it were me, okay, and his name is now Enes Freedom, I would bring him in for a legitimate tryout and a workout, because to me, his skill set and what the Kings are looking for right now, he checks the box in all of those things. That's what I would do.
Yeah, he absolutely does, Grant. Do you think that would be too big of a distraction, though?
For whom?
For the Kings. Because I would assume that there would be some reaction to the Kings signing him.
I don't know. You've got a TV announcer who is unbelievably callous and distasteful on social media. He liked a tweet celebrating Nick Bosa tearing his ACL because he couldn't stand for the national anthem. How's that any different than what Enes Kanter has done, calling out the NBA and the hypocrisy involving China? How's that any different?
Oh,
we have a person that is on Kings television who has been arrested on multiple occasions, okay, domestic violence, and calling a police officer, law enforcement, a effing F, okay, a homophobic slur. He's on TV, Has that been a distraction for the Kings? So you're telling me that you can't bring in an individual who criticized the NBA for their policy in China and other issues, which a lot of people, by the way, agree? I mean, I'm sorry. We're talking about hypocrisy here. So would it be a distraction? Probably would be a chance of it being a distraction. But if you're looking at somebody that hasn't broken the law, hasn't really done anything wrong other than speaking on his belief, which is what he has done, okay? He, to me, would be a perfect guy to bring in for a workout. He is exactly what this team needs right now.
Yeah, I cannot deny that as long as he's still in basketball shape and ready to go. As far as the hypocrisy and, the distractions, the people you're talking about, they're not in the locker room. They're not on the court. But, the media these days, I agree. There's a lot of problems with that. There's some issues with, hires within the organization. But, it's a tough thing. And with the Kings struggling, you don't know how that would play out. But I think he is a perfect player and certainly deserves a chance to play basketball this season.
And again, and thank you for your donation. We appreciate it. I believe that he is exactly the type of player and the only player. All right. Hey, hello from Armenia. We appreciate that. That would be able to come in and help the team right now. Okay. That's based on how I saw him play the last time he was in the league. All right. There we have.
Sure. Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. He'd mesh well with Sabonis based on the last time you saw him play.
Yes. All right. Zach says we should, the Kings should go after Plumlee. I'd be okay with that too. I'd be okay with that too.
I would be.
But, I'd be okay with Dwight Howard too, to be honest with you. I really would. So Tom says if we had a halftime show, we'd put NBC Sports out of business. You know what? Maybe I should do a halftime show. I haven't even really thought about a halftime show. That might not be a bad idea, right?
I don't have anything going during halftime, Grant.
Yeah, let me think about that. A halftime show might be something that we can toy with. I don't know if we'll do it right now, but I'll tell you what I think we should do is after the All-Star break, when all of these games are magnified, maybe I'll do a halftime show and a post-game show, and whenever it's possible with my Listen app schedule and everything else, maybe we'll do a pregame show too. So that's a good suggestion. You know what? I really like that. That's a really good suggestion. Thank you. What do you think, Rhino?
Yeah, totally. I think that's a really, really good idea. Couple quick hits, give you some thoughts on what we saw, and then back to the game.
All right. Again, the Kings in the fourth quarter put 41 on the board, and they blow out the Houston Rockets. Anything really stick out at you tonight? Let's talk about Houston. Anything surprise you about them tonight?
Martin Jr., I was really impressed with him. I thought he played a very good game. Just Houston in general, they're just a veteran away. They don't know how to win, in my opinion. But they do have some talented players. I did not, and let the chat go wild, I did not think that was a dirty play on Keegan Murray.
I didn't either.
I believe, second or third quarter. He clearly went for the ball, and if you look on the replay, he's trying to catch him at the end. But, the Rockets for 10-31, they put up a damn good fight. I expected less than what I saw, actually.
They did. By the way, the Kings, I'm with you, and I'll get back to yours. And the Kings are now fourth in the West by 2 percentage points over Dallas. They're 22-18. Dallas is 23-19. And by the percentages, that's 2 percentage points better. So, good job by the Kings. They have moved up to 4. And as far as Craig Ackerman, he is the TV voice of the Houston Rockets, said that Kevin Porter Jr. left with a left foot contusion. I didn't notice that. And if that's the case and he can't play coming up on Friday, that's going to really hurt them.
Very much so. Very much so.
All right. So Denver is 28-13, tied with Memphis at 28-13. Then New Orleans at 25-17. No Zion Williamson. Obviously, right now they're 5-5 in their last 10. The Kings are 5-5 in their last 10 at 22-18. And we really appreciate the donation on the chat. Thank you so much. We greatly appreciate that. You look at the Clippers are behind Dallas in 6th. Dallas is 23-19. The Clippers have played very poorly. They have had a lot of injuries. They've lost 7 of 10. They are 22-21. Phoenix is going down south. They need Devin Booker back on the floor. They did beat the Warriors, but they got blown out tonight in a back-to-back against Denver. Then the Warriors they've lost 3 in a row now. They're 20-21 in 8th. Utah, they've lost 7 of 10. They're 21-23. And then Minnesota, they've lost 6 of 10. And the reason why I'm pointing out all of these is that the Kings, during this stretch, when they have played inferior teams, have not really capitalized as much as I think they could have. You know, I think when you lose the games to Atlanta and you lose to the Lakers on a back-to-back, and you look to the week before losing to Charlotte and Washington right up before Christmas, these are games that you look back on and you, God, you know, if it weren't for that, you know, the Kings might be in, they'd be in 3rd place right now, not 4th. That's the difference, you know?
Yeah, you're right on, Grant. But, you know, you can't look back at this point. You got to look forward. You can only play who's in front of you. And, you know, we're on a 2-game winning streak now. Yeah. So hopefully they can push that out and hit the road after this last game with the Rockets on Friday.
All right, I want to thank New Works Plumbing for everything they do for us. New Works Plumbing, they are available 24/7 for all of your plumbing needs. Just go to sackserviceplumbing.com or call the number on your screen. New Works Plumbing, they've got a fix for you. If you have not yet subscribed to the channel, we would really appreciate it if you would hit the subscribe button. Also, if you like the content, please hit the like button, give us a thumbs up. We would greatly appreciate that. We'll be right back here in 48 hours after the Kings wrap up this 5-game homestand once again against the Houston Rockets. All right, so that's happening quite a few times this year. The Kings have to do the same thing when they go to Houston, back-to-back games. They have to do the same thing when they go to Minnesota. Do you like that, Ryan? Do you like this? You know, we saw it, right before Christmas, or was it right after Christmas with the Denver Nuggets, where they played, you know, back-to-back on without it. There was no day off on that, was there? No, there was no day off. Do you like that?
Yeah, actually, I do like it, Grant. I think it's good, especially for a younger team like the Kings and a team looking to make the playoffs, because it's kind of a playoff simulation, right? It gives you a small little taste of what you're going to be doing should we play the same team in a 7-game series. So I don't have a problem with it. How about yourself?
No, I'm okay with it. I really don't have any issues. I don't. Is Sabonis better than Divac and Weber? He's better than Vlade. I don't know if he's more skilled than Chris. I'll have to wait until hopefully the playoffs start. Chris never played in the postseason like he did in the regular season, so I need to see Sabonis in that role. But he's definitely one of the most talented that we've seen. Jerry thinks so. Jerry put him right up there. You know, I respect Jerry's knowledge a lot.
Yeah, Grant. Yeah, Grant, I think if Sabonis could really, really become consistent with that 15 to 17 footer like Weber used to take with that reverse pivot, then that conversation really heats up.
Yeah. All right. A lot of people have different opinions about the back-to-back. Brian doesn't like the back-to-back with the same team. I wouldn't like it against a divisional opponent, you know? I would not like it on a divisional opponent. I have to do a little bit more work on Andre Drummond. Thank you very much for the donation. So I have to look at Andre Drummond, but I want to get back to the back-to-backs. I wouldn't want it with a divisional opponent. I think that would be wrong. Okay. But I'm okay with it, especially the league is really trying to reduce travel. So okay, you know what? If this is going to be a solution, see, here's the problem I have, Ryan. The league is trying to the league, good thing I have to talk for a living. The league is trying to do this to reduce travel. Well, to me, reduced travel and a better schedule should mean that we should see less load management. We're not seeing less load management, and that's what bothers me. If you're going to do this to accommodate the teams and make the travel easier and less stressful, less strenuous, then I want to see the players reduce their load management. You can't have it both ways, in my opinion. That's the problem I have with it, Ryan.
Yeah, Grant, you're spot on. That is a management, as you know. I believe New Orleans, the Warriors sat all 3 of their star guys both times they were in New Orleans this year. So I don't know if that comes down to the NBA and the NBA PA coming together and changing the rules. I know there's different rules about national telecast games, in sitting your starters or for load management. But if you're going to do the back-to-backs, I will add this. You need to make sure that that's fair across the schedule with all the teams. You don't stick one team, because I think the Kings have 6 back-to-backs this year against the same team, if I'm correct. And I'm not sure if every team in the NBA also has that.
Sabonis is a more skilled player than Vlade with his all-around game. Yes, Jerry thought so too. I think so. That's not a knock on Vlade, by the way. That just shows you how good Sabonis is. I think Sabonis is a better. I think Vlade's defense was better. I know he flopped a lot, but the point is, I believe that that's where I'm at. A lot of people asking about load management. That's what they call resting players, based on algorithms and analytics and minutes. And we don't see that in the National Hockey League, right? We don't see it in the National Football League. We see it in the NBA. It became popular with Greg Popovich when he used to start sitting players down, and then everybody caught on. And now you're seeing teams rest players based on the schedule, back-to-backs, whether a player had a surgical procedure the year before or 2 years before. I mean, that's why Jamal Murray did not play on the second night of a back-to-back in Sacramento, because it was 3 games in 4 nights. It was the second game of a back-to-back, and they did not play him. They rested him. It's called load management. It's just a fancy word for resting players. That's what the word is, So there we have it. Hey, first of all, for those of you that don't remember Vlade Divac playing, Vlade was a hell of a player, okay? Vlade was a really good player. Don't discredit how good of a player Vlade was, but Sabonis is a better all-around player than Vlade Divac. But if you're saying he's a lot better, no, he's not a lot better. He is better all around, but not a lot better. Vlade was an incredibly gifted player, scoring, rebounding, passing, but Sabonis is just a little bit better, in my opinion.
I think Sabonis is a little bit better, but don't forget, Vlade played the same role as Sabonis for the most part in the early 2000s with the Kings. He was the facilitator.
Yes.
Up until Sabonis, one of the best big men passers I've seen. So he was so important to that team. So Vlade was special.
Yeah, by the way, there's been some questions about the King Dancers. They got rid of the King's Dancers a couple of years ago. Part of the woke bullshit culture that goes on in Sacramento with their ownership. It's just unbelievable to me. I mean, it really is. It's absolutely unbelievable. The King's Dancers were phenomenal. I thought they were one of the best squads, and I got a chance to see them all courtside. I thought they did a great job. The choreography was great. They did a great job. I thought they were tremendous with the fans. They were tremendous out in the community. They did a lot of great things in Sacramento for the community as well. And again, it's just a woke BS culture that we're living in, where no longer did we have the King's Dance team.
Think about that, Grant. You can't have a dance team. That's nuts.
I know. Well, I don't know. 40 people listen to KHTK. Why do they get so many people listening to KHTK? Why do they have 40 when you could be listening to Ryan and I right here on YouTube Live, Periscope, and Facebook Live? Huh? Come on.
We got to do better, Grant. We got to do better. We got to get those.
Absolutely. Again, I really appreciate everyone taking the time to hit the like button and subscribe, as we are really enjoying doing these shows. And I like the suggestion about doing a halftime show as well. I mean, if you would not mind, as you are doing the chats, could you just give us a yes or no if that is something you would like us to do at halftime of the games? Just give us a little message on the chat line, yes or no, or thumbs up or thumbs down. I'd appreciate that. I'd like to get a real idea if that's something that you all would like. All right. Somebody said Fox or Mitch. Mitch Richmond. All right. I would take over De'Aaron Fox. And I'll tell you why. And thank you for all the yes. Thank you. Wow. Yes. But Mitch Richmond was a great offensive player, and he was a great defensive player. Okay. De'Aaron is a great offensive player. He couldn't come close to playing defense the way Mitch Richmond. All right. So, in my opinion, Mitch Richmond over De'Aaron Fox. Now, I would also say this: De'Aaron's still young. He's what, 25? He's in his sixth year. We may have a completely different discussion about this when his career is over. But right now, based on me watching Mitch Richmond play every game of his Sacramento Kings career and watching De'Aaron play every game of his career, Mitch is a better all-around player.
Yeah, that's the most underrated part of Mitch's game was his defense, right, Grant? I think it was Michael Jordan that said he really looked forward to playing against Mitch. It's a shame we only got to see them twice a year.
It was great. Hello from Italy. Let us know where in Italy. I will tell you, I had a chance to do radio for 3 years in the middle of that Mitch Richmond, Michael Jordan rivalry. And I remember doing a game on radio at the old Chicago Stadium. And it was one of the most amazing individual matchups that I had seen in all my years of covering the NBA. And Mitch and Michael went back and forth in an amazing duel. Every single possession, Ryan, was like, you could not take your eyes off it. I couldn't take my eyes off because I was announcing the game. But if I was a fan, I wouldn't have taken my eyes off. It was incredible, really incredible.
Oh man, I wish I could remember that, and probably can find it on YouTube. But you know, another thing about Mitch, at least, is somebody that grew up with him being the guy here in Sacramento. I can't think of a more fundamental two guard than Mitch Richmond. The way he used his pivots, his triple point stance, like he was so good with his footwork and just a hell of a shooter. I mean, it was the same thing every time. So yeah, really good guy. Love the Rock.
Appreciate how many people are joining us here on the stream tonight, both here on YouTube, Facebook, and social media. We got a couple of thousand people that are watching us right now, and so we really appreciate that. Thank you very much. As far as the Kings go, they anything less than 5 games over 500 when they get on the airplane to go to San Antonio will be a colossal failure, in my opinion. This is a great point. Mitch Richmond played very well with his back to the basket. He was strong. He would post up, and he would score on turnaround jumpers in the lane, some fade away. He was very good getting to the line. I mean, Mitch Richmond was a really, 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 really good player, period. He was really, really good.
Yeah, I think he's probably underrated, right, Grant? I mean, imagine if he would have been with a better team or had a supporting cast. He still would have been the featured player on the team. But
you remember when he was with Run TMC for that year before the Kings traded Billy Owens to get Mitch? I mean, that was unbelievable to watch that team. But Mitch, again, just after watching Mitch Richmond, I mean, he was a special talent because he was a legitimate two-way player. As good as he was on offense, you could make the argument he was better defensively.
Absolutely. You're spot on about that.
All right. So the Kings are 4th in the West right now by a couple of percentage points. We got yeses all over the board on doing a halftime show. So maybe we won't wait. Maybe we won't wait until after the All-Star break. Let me look at my schedule. Let me look at my Listen App schedule. Let me look at the interviews that I have scheduled. And whenever we can, we can do a 10 or a 15-minute show. I'll tell you this. And again, I'm only throwing this out there. I'm okay with coming on after the second quarter, doing halftime, and staying with you for the second half if you want on. I don't know if I would want to do it every game, but I'm okay doing that. I mean, if you like this format, and apparently you do, I'm okay with that. I'm all about what you all want. Ryan and I talk both here, and then we talk a lot off the air. I'm doing this because I enjoy conversing with you all. I truly do. So my schedule is open now. I'm available. So if that's something that you would like, then let's look into it. And I'll tell you something else. I'm all open for suggestions. Ryan has given me suggestions too. We just got a suggestion about doing halftime. So if that's something you want to do, then I'm all for it. I'm all for it. Let's do it. All right, let's do it. All right. So what do you think, Ryan? 5 games over 500 for sure, right? 5 games over 500 after the next game.
Got to be 5 over 500 after the next Rockets game. And let's get over that 5-game hump and get to the 6 in San Antonio.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, we're getting so many great comments. I can't even keep up with them on the stream, but I appreciate that very much. Just so you know, I resigned from the Kings, so I do appreciate that. Thank you very much. I do appreciate your support, though. It means a lot to me. But I did resign my position after 32 years. You know, I have not talked to Brad Miller. I know he was at the game the other night. I have not talked to Brad. Oh, I think he reached out to me about a year ago and we conversed, but I have not seen Brad Miller in over 2 years. So I'm not really sure how he's doing. I believe he still lives in Sacramento for part of the year. I know he has all of his hunting stuff and shows that he does, but you know, I haven't talked to Brad in a while. All right. So anything else that you want to add on the chat line, we will do it. Ryan, I take apart I thought the Kings, in a nutshell, just felt that they could take over this game, and when they wanted to, and they did. They were trailing going into the fourth quarter, and they took over the game. Is that a bad habit to get into? It's not great, but you know, they did win. They did win convincingly down the stretch, and they should be able to duplicate this win on Friday. And you look in the rearview mirror and go, we're 5 games over 500. We are going to start a 5-game stretch right here on YouTube. You and I will take the largest donation of the 5 games, and we'll have them join us for the 6th game right here on YouTube Live. It should be a lot of fun. So, Ryan, all in all, you'll take the win. There were no injuries for Sacramento. That's a positive.
Amen.
And this team now should get a little momentum heading out onto the road.
Yes, sir, Grant. A win is a win. We're never going to turn those away, but staying healthy, always a great thing as well. Little bit playing on the line, like you said, if they have it in their head, they can turn it on. But there were a lot of positives. They outweighed the negatives. Let's see it again on Friday and move on from there.
How about Rome? Hello in Rome. 7 a.m. over in Rome. What a spectacular city Rome is. That place is unbelievable. Man. Spectacular. You ever been to Italy?
No. Another one on the list. I love Italy.
I will tell you this, all right? And thank you so much for all the support. I do appreciate that. Italy is a spectacular country. It is absolutely spectacular. Spectacular. Charlie, thank you very much for the donation. My favorite king of all time. It's very difficult to just name one because I've got a couple, but my all-time favorite 5, Vlade, Spud Webb, Wayman Tisdale, Scott Pollard, and Reggie Theus. Those are my favorite 5. And there are a lot of 5As, 5Bs, 5Cs, 5Ds, but Spud, Tizzy, Vlade, Scott, all right, and Reggie. Peja is probably number 6 or 5A. Hedo would be 5A or 5B. Hedo Turkoglu, great. I loved being around Harold Presley. He's one of my favorites. There are so many others that I could name. Tyus Edney, Michael Yogi Stewart. Love Michael Yogi Stewart. I'd put Yogi in the top 10. Yogi was, and still to this day, I keep in touch with him. To watch a local kid play in the NBA when he never thought he would play in the NBA was one of the great things that I've ever experienced. Danny Ainge would be in my top 10. So it's very difficult for me to name one, but those are some that stick out to me. And there are many more. Joe Klein, one of my favorites, great human being, funny guy, great guy. Ed Pinckney is on my list. What a great person Ed Pinckney is. So I have many. I've been blessed to be in a lot of different eras and really met many tremendous guys. So absolutely. Yep. Somebody said, I'm surprised that Weber and Bibby are not up there. All right. I'm not going to talk playoffs just yet. Not until after the All-Star break, you know. Somebody said Spud. Yeah, Spud Webb. Spud's a dear friend of mine. One of the great players I've ever been around. One of the top 5 human beings I've ever been around in all my years of covering professional sports. So, yes, Spud Webb, a saint. Thank you very much, Sam. Appreciate that. Hey, wow. Sam. We're first time watching the Kings since Game 6, 2002. Thank you. All right.
Oh,
Thank you very much. Really appreciate that. No, the Kings are not running. I'll tell you with Sabonis though, and it's pretty amazing. Spud the golfer, yeah, absolutely. You're right. I'm not talking about players. I'm not talking about the best 5 players of all time. I'm talking about my favorite 5 players of all time. Yes, of course I talked to Gary Gerald. Gary came out to the event out at Bennett's when Ryan and I got our head shaved back in September. Gary was on a podcast of mine about a year ago. Of course, I still talk to Gary Gerald. Gary's the salt of the earth. So absolutely. All right. Ryan, that's a good show, buddy. We got so many people that are watching us. I don't even want to sign off, but it's incredible how many people are following us here on YouTube and on Twitter and Facebook Live. And we are really happy about that. Well, I mentioned Wayman Tisdale. And I didn't even think about Wayman as a basketball player when I mentioned Wayman. Wayman Tisdale in life, forget about sports, just life, is one of the greatest people I've ever been around. All right. I put him in such high esteem, almost like my father. Wayman Tisdale, there was nobody that didn't like Wayman Tisdale. And Wayman and his wife, Regina, were, and Regina is just a sweetheart. I had Regina on my radio show the night before the final game at Arco Arena, and I actually broke down on the air. And I interviewed Regina, and we talked about Wayman. We talked about his life. We talked about how he helped so many people. We talked about, growing up in Oklahoma and his just incredible life. He was always making people smile, loved his bass guitar, ended up being a heck of a jazz musician. And we just lost him tragically way too soon. But when I think of Wayman, I never think of basketball, never think about basketball. I think about the smile. When I hear Wayman Tisdale's music, whether I'm in the car or wherever the case may be, and a Wayman Tisdale song comes on, I smile. I smile because he had that impact not only on me, but anyone else that was around Wayman Tisdale. So, yeah, you say underrated. I didn't even think about him as a basketball player. He's just a great person, period, Well, you know what? Thank you very much for watching. Yeah. Go ahead, Ryan.
I was going to say, if you don't like that, you don't like great people.
Yeah.
Period. End of story.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, Gary Gerald is another guy. You will not ever meet anyone that does not like Gary Gerald. And if you do, there's something wrong with that person. All right. If you ever hear someone say they were around Gary and they don't like him, no, I've never run across anyone since I moved to Sacramento in 1987 that doesn't like Gary Gerald. Now, I've run into people that don't like him as an announcer, but they're in the minority, but that's okay. That's subjective. But Gary Gerald, the person, you kidding me? A+ across the board in every single category. A+. Absolutely A+. No question about it. Well, we got so many people.
So, Grant, I got to ask you.
Yeah, go ahead.
So you named off your 5 Kings. Is there 5 players that never played for the Kings that you greatly respect or have built a relationship throughout the years announcing?
I would not say I built a relationship, but the respect that I had for them was immense. And I think I shared this with you when they ended their careers. I made a point to walk up to them, shake their hand, and tell them how much I appreciated them. One was Kobe Bryant. I did it on the court, and I also did it where it's on my intro of me shaking Kobe's hand the last time he ever played a game in Sacramento when I was doing my radio show live on the court, and he happened to walk by as he was getting off the bus and walking to the locker room, and I said, Kobe, I said, hey, we're on live, just so you know. And I shook his hand, and we had direct eye contact, and it was immense respect. And I said, I just want to tell you what a privilege and honor it's been to announce so many of your games. I wish you the best. And he looked me straight in the eye and he goes, hey, man, thank you very much. I really appreciate that. Thank you. And the other one was Dirk Nowitzki. When Dirk came into Sacramento for the last game, it was about, I don't know, an hour before the game, and Dirk was sitting on the baseline stretching. All right. So he wasn't standing, he was sitting and he was stretching on the baseline near the bench of the Dallas Mavericks. And I walked over and I said, Dirk, and I bent over, I reached down, I go, hey, I just want to. And as I was talking, he got up from stretching, stood up, looked me in the eye, and I said, hey, I just want to tell you what a privilege it's been for me to watch you play. And you have been so great for the NBA, and I want to thank you. And he just talked to me and goes, hey, man, I really appreciate that. Thank you very much. I said, no, thank you. And I did the same thing to Dwayne Wade. When Dwayne Wade was in Sacramento the last time, when he came out for the warm-ups, I walked across the floor and just went up to him. And that was I just said, hey, Dwayne, I just want to say, man, I wish you the best. Thank you so much for everything you've done for this league and how great it's been to announce some of your games. And he said, hey, I really appreciate that. So I always try to do that because I think it's important that when players of this magnitude give so much to the sport and never cheated the fans and always played for the fans, I just admire the heck out of that. And I admire how they conduct themselves, not only on the floor, but off the floor. So that resonates with me. I look at the total picture. You know, Dirk Nowitzki to me was not only a great player, he's a great person and a great ambassador for the game of basketball, not only in the United States, but worldwide, and always has time for the fans. So those are the things that stick out with me. You know, those are the things that stick out to me. Those are some that I could just name. There were others, you know, along the way that I went up to in the 90s or the early 2000s and did the same thing. But those are some that stick out to me.
That's great. That's great. The fact that Dirk got up and talked for a couple seconds after he was stretching, that's cool.
That was amazing to me that he respected me enough or respected an individual enough that he was going to get up off the floor from stretching so that he could, you know, I guess be respectful to me in his eye. That was pretty amazing, you know, pretty amazing. So
pretty cool.
Yep. All right. So you ready to do this again in 48 hours, my friend?
Let's do it. How about you?
I'm ready to roll. And again, I'm gonna think about doing. Oh, by the way, I did the same thing to Shaq. Someone wanted to know about Shaq. I did go up to Shaq and do the same thing. I am gonna think about halftime with Ryan. You know, we'll talk about that, and we can figure out a game plan. Because again, I love the impact that we have here, the interest. I love how many people are finding us, and we have, like tonight, another individual that is finding us for the first time. So yeah, you know what? Let's do it. The more the merrier. Eduardo in Chile. Where are you, buddy? Have you been watching the whole thing over there? Eduardo in Chile. Yes, indeed. Yes, thanks for the stream. Absolutely. So we have Italy tonight. We have Chile tonight. I don't know if we are being watched over in Asia. I haven't yet heard from the individual visiting his family in Vietnam or in the Philippines, or Bula, if you were watching over in Fiji. I'm sure we have Hawaii on the board, right? Yes, indeed. There's Hawaii. I think Jay is still in Hawaii. So, yeah, Grant International. You're exactly right. Grant International. Yes, yes, yes. My show is bringing back the Keems vibe. The more, the better. I'm with you on that. Maybe the more, the better. We're all for it. I know I speak for Ryan, you know, and I know you got a hip issue you got to take care of, but you know, you might have to miss some games, but you know, we'll work around your schedule, buddy. Grant International. Absolutely. International is the best way, you know. Armenia. Yes, I forgot about you. I apologize. Take my apologies. Forgive me. I forgot. Thank you very much for joining us here on the stream tonight. The fact that we are going worldwide. Yes, we are going worldwide. Worldwide. Land Park is covered. Oh, I love it.
Well played.
Oh my gosh. All the way in Elk Grove. Well, we're happy that we are reaching all the way in Elk Grove. I absolutely love it. Oh my gosh. I love it. All right. Thank you for your support. We really appreciate that. The Kings, with a strong fourth quarter, they win, and we are so happy that everybody is able to watch us, not only in California, but from around the globe. Oh, Seattle, Washington checking in. Well, you got a big game coming up, Seattle at San Francisco on Saturday. So I know there's one guy on this stream right now that is rooting for the Seahawks. I'm actually looking at him right now.
Go Hawks. And go Giants too, Grant. Go Big Blue. I hope you guys pull it off Minnesota.
Absolutely. All right. Can I play Harrison Ford in Air Force One? If I get to fly on the jet, I'll play him. Sure. You know, I was on Air Force One. Did I tell you that?
No, you didn't. You were on Air Force One?
Yeah. It was one of the most amazing experiences I've ever had. So when President Obama, he was in the last year of his presidency, one of my best friends is an umpire, and he was very, very good friends with the head purser on Air Force One. The head purser is somebody that is in charge of all the flight attendants. So anyway, my friend, the umpire, Brian, knows how much I love flying and aviation. And he said, hey, would you like to go on Air Force One? I'm like, what? He goes, yeah. He goes, I'm gonna see if I can get you on Air Force One, not in the air, but on the ground. I said, yeah, I understand. So Obama was speaking at Stanford, and so they had the schedule a couple of weeks in advance. So my wife and I, her one son and my one son, we handed all of our passports in about 4 weeks ahead of time. They had to do a background check on us. To make a long story short, the plane was at Moffett Air Force Base in San Jose. So we get there and we wait and we go through the security protocols and we go through another set of security protocols. And we walk out onto the tarmac where Air Force One is. And at the nose of the Boeing 747, there's two SUVs. And they said, okay, you can take pictures outside the aircraft. So we went on the steps leading up to the fuselage. We have our pictures there. All of us took pictures. We have pictures standing in front of the Air Force One, in front of the wing. And then we had to leave our phones in the SUV. And then they patted us down. They wanded us before we walked onto the plane. So the tour of this plane. Now, what's fascinating, the plane was completely staffed with Secret Service and the pilots because Obama was getting ready to fly from Moffett Air Force Base up to Seattle within 2 hours. So the plane was, all right. So we start off in the back of the plane, and the purser is explaining to us that this is where the press corps sits. And so they were showing us the cards that they had out. It said, welcome to Air Force One with your name. And all of us had that. It said, welcome to Air Force One, Grant Napier, with the date, with the presidential seal on the card. And then they gave us these snacks, all with presidential seals. We even got a sleeve of golf balls, Pro V1s with the presidential seal. But then we left that area, the back of the 747, and the gentleman that was doing the tour said, okay, this is where really Air Force One starts. You notice how the carpet changes? I go, yeah. He said, you need a special security clearance to go from this part of the plane to this part. And he showed us. Then we go to, and he goes, all right, now we're going to where you need more security clearance to go to this part of the plane. And he goes, let me explain to you how significant this area of the plane is. And it was, you know, the 747 is a huge aircraft. It's very wide. It's huge. There were 2 tables with 2 basically lazy boy chairs facing each other on this side of the plane and on this side of the plane. So a total of 8 seats with 2 tables. He said over here is they removed these chairs and this table when President Reagan was flown to California, okay, when he died. And he said the casket was right here. And he said, what was interesting about that, President Reagan had never been on Air Force One before on this particular plane because when he was president, he flew on a 707. As a matter of fact, it's part of his presidential library in California now, the plane. So the first time President Reagan was ever on that plane was when his body was being flown to California. President Bush was on the plane flying from Washington to California. And the gentleman giving the tour told us that the Secret Service would not allow President Bush to walk back to this part of the airplane because they did not want him to see where he would be someday. And we were just like, wow, like, wow.
Whoa.
So then we continue to the conference room. And in the conference room, the person was explaining to us that on 9/11, when George Bush was pulled out of the classroom and he went airborne on Air Force One, he was not able to address the nation because technology did not allow for that type of communication from an aircraft to talk. Now, when you go into the conference room on Air Force One, above where the president would sit, there is the presidential seal. And then above that, it says on air. All right. So it would light up, meaning that you can tell that he is talking to whomever he's talking to. So now they have the capabilities. Then after that, we went into the Oval Office in the air. And it was really neat to be in the Oval Office because President Obama had his Air Force jacket on the back of the chair of his desk. And it was just amazing to think that, wow, the president of the United States is going to be on this plane within 2 hours. Then we went to the nose of the aircraft, which is where the president's sleeping quarters is, in the nose of the aircraft on the lower level. And the only place that we were not allowed to go to was the presidential bathroom and the shower area. The door was open and we could look into it, but we were not allowed to walk in there. Then, right before you get to that area, between the Oval Office in the air and the presidential suite and bathroom, there is a surgical suite in there. And we went in there and they were talking about how they could do emergency surgery in there, that they had the president's blood in there if they did do a transfusion or whatever the case may be, and said that this plane, and it's equipped with surgeon, doctors, everything. All right. This is the part of the trip that blew my mind. We walk up the steps to get to the second level of the 747. And when we get up there, there are nothing but computer screens and TV monitors with 2 Air Force personnel on the left and 2 on the right. And they're sitting in their chairs and they're explaining to us what they do. And they were explaining to us that we can get messages from anywhere in the world and we can send them to anyone on the plane, both regular phone or where, you can't, it's all, what's the word I'm looking for when you would not be able to decipher what the call is. It's, I can't remember. I'm losing my mind right now, but so you can have, decoded. Thank you. So then the pilots are then sitting around a table upstairs, the pilots of Air Force One. And the captain said, you can take them into the cockpit. We go into the cockpit of the 747 of Air Force One. And we take turns sitting in the captain's chair of Air Force One. We all sat in the captain's chair of Air Force One, looking out over the tarmac. And I was just like, oh my freaking Lord. I am sitting in the captain's chair of Air Force One. And then we went back and we talked to the captain again. This captain was the captain when President Bush flew on Thanksgiving and surprised the troops in Iraq. And he was explaining to us that mission and how challenging and dangerous it was. Not, and there's the famous story of a commercial aircraft that said, hey, what's Air Force One doing here? Because again, no one knew that Air Force, they kept it secret. Now you're not allowed to be in the same airspace as Air Force One when it flies. Okay, you have to. So then they landed at night with no lights, and he was explaining to us that mission. So that was, I know I'm going on, and I'm sorry. No. But that experience to go on Air Force One with the plane fully staffed with Secret Service personnel, the pilots, and everyone else was fascinating. But to sit in the captain's chair on Air Force One was just unfreaking believable. I was sitting there and I was thinking to myself, think about all of the places this plane has been with the most important people in the world on board, you know? And I'm just like, wow. It was a wow. Now, understand that there are two 747s and it's only Air Force One when the president is on. If the president is not on board the plane, it's not Air Force One. There are two identical 747s and they both fly wherever the president goes, but they go to different airports in case of an emergency. They're both fully stocked with everything. They're similar. They have the only difference is their tail number is different. So there are two 747s that fly all over the world whenever the president goes. If the president is flying from Washington, D.C. to Tokyo, there are two 747s that go. One is Air Force One, and the other one is a backup plane in case there's an emergency, something happens at the tarmac where the first 747 is. It's all amazing. All amazing. Yeah.
Talk about the experience of a lifetime. I mean, for any citizen, but especially somebody that's an aviation enthusiast. Oh my gosh. They probably had to peel you out of the captain's chair, huh?
I was, I'm the adult in the room and my kids were like, Dad, can we sit in there? And I'm like, yeah, oh yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead. You know what I mean? You know what I'm like, yeah, you can. Yes, you can. Oh my gosh. Is that amazing or what?
Holy. Hey, there's not as much room. There's not as much room up there as you think, huh?
Yeah. Yeah. No, there isn't. You should have come to Bennett's when we were there. You could have had a beer with us. We would have enjoyed that. There's very little room in the cockpit of a 747 because it's an old aircraft. As a matter of fact, they're right now building the new plane for the president. It's going to be the 747-800. This is not even the 747-400 that the president flies on. It's a 747-200. And the quarters in the cockpit are very cramped. You're absolutely correct.
How big are just now? You got me going. How big were the sleeping quarters? Was it about the size of a normal size bedroom, or?
The beds were single beds along the side of the fuselage. I would say it's a pretty small area. I mean, it wasn't cramped, but
yeah,
there wasn't a lot of extra space in there. I'll say that.
Wow, that is
How about that? I would
cool
be great.
Experience.
How about that? I would be great company around a campfire. There you have it. Grant Napier and camping don't really go together, but I'll as long as I don't have to sleep out there after we're done being around the campfire, I'm okay.
Is your idea of camping getting a hotel in the mountains?
Yes, that's exactly right.
Right.
You guys are going to laugh. My favorite beer is Coors Light. All right. So it's where I'm at. That's my favorite beer. Maybe we can get Coors Light to sponsor the program. Yeah. Coors Light's my go-to beer. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. With that said, I think enough of my rambling on and on and on. Ryan, I appreciate you so much, buddy. And we'll do this again on Friday.
Thanks, Napes. Have a great night. Great stories. Thank you, everybody.
That's good stuff. Hey, I really appreciate all of you joining us here. The Kings win a big fourth quarter. Well, I appreciate you listening. And if you're listening and you're following, then I'm happy to share my stories on a variety of topic. Yeah. You know what? Good night. Good night. Absolutely. Really appreciate everybody. Thank you so much. And we'll do it again coming up on Friday. Take care, everybody. Oh, got to get my donation in here to Ryan and I. Thank you very much on the Super Chat, Christopher. We appreciate that. Thank you. Means a lot to me. Means a lot to Ryan. And you have a great evening, everybody. Bye-bye now.